Right to this, a suggestion via a channel member. Guys, I'm looking at this title. This title is wild, but guys, California is always basically, for the most part, going to California. Let's see where this video takes us.
Yes. Meanwhile, California becoming the first state in the nation to ban law enforcement officers from covering their faces in the field. Madeline Rivera is live in Washington with the latest. Good morning, Maddie.
Good morning. This comes as the Trump administration ramps up its immigration crackdown. California Governor Gavin Newsom signed a number of bills to push back against the president, and one of them is that law prohibiting law enforcement officers from wearing masks while carrying out their duties. Newsom says concealing their identities allows government agents to avoid public accountability.
Right.
It's like a dystopian sci-fi movie. Unmarked cars. People en masse, people quite literally disappearing, no due process, no rights. This is a disgrace. This is an outrage, what we have allowed to happen in this country. ICE.
Okay, guys, I just wanted to make sure I heard what he said here, just to get a grasp of it. I figured he was saying nothing, and he still is basically saying nothing. Listen, we have gotten to the point where there are municipalities, like local municipalities, even at the state level, that have come to, I guess, attempt to think that they specifically are in any form or fashion above the federal government. Listen, all of what you're doing is state level statutes, right? Now, don't get me wrong here. We have all come to an agreement via the social contract that we will, in fact, enforce literally irrelevant statutes and policies, right? And then we have turned our law enforcement agents into anti-law enforcement agents, basically, enforcing local statutes and policies that basically have nothing to do with the oath that they have, sworn to, if that makes any sense here. It has nothing to do with America. It has all to do with whatever local municipality you're currently in here. Listen, it would be great if we can get to the point where police officers stop attempting to enforce irrelevant statutes and policies and actually focus on the Constitution, which they took an oath to. So here's the problem. Gavin Newsom specifically is an individual that apparently is going to be running for some type of, upper office, higher office. Guys, we cannot allow the United States of America to turn into California or anything similar to this nonsense, guys. All right. This is when someone has attempted to overreach and start making demands in an area where they specifically have no jurisdiction in. That's the truth, guys. Right? A local statute is irrelevant. He said law enforcement officers, cool. That's irrelevant to the federal agents that are coming in and acting upon the president's demands, let's say here, guys, okay? So I have no idea what he plans on doing here or how he plans on kind of enforcing it, because I'm not sure you can arrest a federal agent while he's doing his job. Gavin Newsom, again, your irrelevant local ridiculous statute or policy has nothing to do with the federal government or their employees.
Unmask. What are you afraid of?
Doxing? That's what you do.
What are you afraid of?
That's what your party does. Dox people.
LA Mayor Karen Bass is praising the state's lawmakers.
Karen Bass, of course.
What I'm so proud of in our city is that we have legislative resistance, we have resistance from local government and state government.
That's cool.
And we have resistance on the streets. I look forward to the day that we no longer have to protect ourselves and fight our own government.
Right. Yeah, this is nothing but virtue signaling, guys, period. They know that this is irrelevant. All right. But for the unassumed or the unknowing, let's say, and in the context of the statement here, they're going to be like, oh, this is just the law. Bro, that's a statute. All right. Federal government, for the most part, makes laws. Okay. Did the federal government say that this was a thing? Bro, they're going to have to go through Congress. And guess what's going to happen? Nothing.
Trump administration officials say the masks help keep agents safe as they do their jobs. DHS says there's been a 1,000% increase in assaults against ICE agents. And then there's the question of whether Newsom's ban will survive legal muster. DHS Assistant Secretary Tricia McLaughlin says on X, good news for Americans and public safety. ICE and DHS law enforcement are part of the federal government. We don't need to abide by this garbage. The acting U.S. attorney for Central California says something to the same extent. He says the state has no jurisdiction over the federal government and that it must go through Congress to regulate agents. So he says Newsom's new law won't have an effect on the administration's operations.
Nothing. Not
Charlie,
a single thing.
Rachel, and Griff.
Not a single thing, guys.
Thank you, Maddie.
Thanks, Maddie.
So Gavin Newsom asked, what are you afraid of? Well, I'll tell you what they're afraid of. They're afraid of dying. They're afraid of being doxxed. They're afraid of their families also being in danger. I remember interviewing Border Patrol spouses who said how afraid they were on the border. Imagine being in ICE, with the cartels and other people, going after them. Imagine being ICE. You don't have a mask. They find out through facial recognition who you are, and they come after you because it's not necessarily even the illegal immigrants. It's these radical groups that are paid for by God knows who are violent. Look at that, Antifa and other radical leftist groups. That is what they are afraid of. And by the way, Karen Bass, the mayor of LA, I mean, the gall of this woman after she allowed her city to burn, didn't prepare for fires, and now she's fighting law enforcement, taking criminals off her streets.
To your point, Rachel, it's so important to point out in the remarks that Bass made, and Maddie didn't play that soundbite, but there was one line that stood out. She said that the federal government wants to normalize the, quote, hunting of Latinos. She is trying to create a narrative that does not exist out there.
That's
and the U.S. attorney out there in California, Bill Saley, is trying to support his law enforcement officers. But that number, by the way, of 1,000% increase in assaults, that number is way higher. I've talked to the acting director of ICE, Todd Lyons. He says it's way higher, but yet it isn't stopping his men and women from going out every day in these sanctuary cities like California, New York, Massachusetts, Illinois, and trying to remove who? Not innocent people, not people that have a right to be here, but violent, criminal, illegal aliens. And the phrase of hunting Latinos.
It's not just that. Be fully aware that the overwhelming majority of people that are basically being taken out have deportation orders. They're not all what he just said. Understand this here. We need to basically be able to speak in a way that isn't inflammatory, let's just say this here. But the majority of them just have deportation orders, and that still is, unfortunately, basically a warrant for your capture. Right? It is what it is here, guys. But I would not say that every single one of the people that are basically being taken are part of the ilk that he just mentioned.
He knows the federal government's trying to normalize it is just simply inaccurate.
So, I mean, I'm deeply uncomfortable with the idea of police officers wearing face masks. But this is, of course, a foreign invasion, which puts it in a completely different category. And everything they have done is exacerbating the situation and making it worse. The reason that these ICE agents have to do it is because of exactly that kind of rhetoric. And it endangers their lives, and their families are getting doxxed because of what Gavin Newsom and Mayor Bass are
Did you notice that the guys on top of the car are wearing scarves around their faces, and so they're
those
covered
people
up.
are fine.
Just to your point about the mask, and I understand your sentiment, Charlie, but let me just also say, and I've been on these raids. I was in the first few days of Midway Blitz in Chicago. Every ICE officer and law enforcement that I've been out with and seen in any of these arrests, they are covering their faces because there is a nationwide coordinated effort to dox them, as Rachel said, but yet they are identifiable because you see on their chest, ICE, HSI. They're identifying themselves when they go and do these arrests.
Okay, I see where you're going with that, but we have to look at things from all angles at all times before we start making assumptions. Now listen, let's say you're being pulled over by a police officer that has their entire face covered. I get that, guys. I'm like, I can't even identify you, bro. Right? From that angle, I get it, right? But these are generally going to be like policy enforcers, right? The ones that are working at the county or the county level, right? Basically, they're set up to enforce policy or local statute. And again, I'm not a fan of policies or local statutes because they have nothing to do generally with the Constitution, but I know we have all signed the social contract, and we all need to basically adhere to these absolutely unconstitutional, irrelevant local statutes and policies. I get that, right? I'm not going to argue that. I get it. We can shake hands on that. We'll agree to disagree, guys, right? But the thing is, guys, this mask thing is interesting. California, a place, wear your mask, wear your mask, wear your mask. Now the cops, they can't wear masks. So they're allowed to spread the disease, guys. Is that how that works now? I want to know, right? I want to know. Guys, again, I'm not a super fan of California just in general. because I don't really see anything interesting in this place. I see it being kind of the reason why Americans are perceived the way that they are generally perceived outside of the United States of America. And again, guys, I've traveled to over 140 countries. Right? I understand how Americans are thought of, and generally that's done by our largest export, which is our media, right? And Hollywood is basically responsible for the assassination of our character outside of the United States of America, right? Classing us as all loud, crass idiots, fat idiots, basically, right? Not every single person in America is that, guys. Okay, some of us understand how to deal with ourselves in foreign nations. Okay, and the reality, all right. But I blame Hollywood for that, and I blame Hollywood for everyone outside the United States of America wanting to go to either Hollywood or New York. Okay, seriously, listen, and Hollywood and California, the state of California, and the lower part of New York, really has nothing to do with America, guys, and it's there. It's in there, right? But that's not America, guys. Right? The majority of us do not live like that. Understand? I grew up in New York, so I understand why I'm saying these things, right? But now I don't live in New York. Okay, I live in real America, and I can tell you this right now: there are not many similarities. Okay, truth be told. But either way, I mean, that may sound petty. That's the reason why you hate the state. Yeah, that and generally the people who run the state. Right, because I find nothing interesting, right? Like none of the stuff that California has really affects my family, but luckily, that offers or they're consistently promoting, right? None of these things really affect my family in any meaningful manner. So I'm not going to sit here and back anything that doesn't affect my family directly, because I do not loan my vote out to causes that have nothing to do with me or my family. I will not. I refuse, and I do not think that any American should. Truth be told, right? Vote for the things that actually affect your family, right? And I have no problem if the things that I am complaining about specifically do not have anything to do with you specifically. I think we could still deal with each other completely fine. I generally am not someone who throws people away because of their political ideology. It's not something I do here. I love the fact that there are differences in the United States of America, right? But just don't expect me to talk kindly. I'd say I can't talk kindly about something that I find irrelevant. I just can't. It's like impossible for me. Right, guys, I am autistic. Empathy is not my strong suit here. All right, truth be told here, not at all. I'm not good with the concept of empathy. Like I have to feel it to kind of like know that it's worthy of like feeling for it, if that makes any sense. But either way, listen, you guys all have an absolutely amazing day. I will go on and on and on about Gavin Newsom, Karen Bass, California. This video will be an hour. Sure will. But all right, listen, you guys all have an absolutely amazing day. If you guys are new here, please like and subscribe. And in the meantime, I will catch you guys later.